In a significant development, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Pakistan have signed a joint defense agreement in Makkah, pledging to treat an attack on any one of them as an attack on all three. The agreement comes at a time when the region is witnessing one of the most volatile phases in the recent years since the escalation of the Iran-Israel conflict earlier this year happened, and allied groups carried out missile strikes, and Iran attacked Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states. The entire area stands completely disrupted. Now, these three countries say that the agreement is purely defensive. According to the joint statement, the pact is aimed at strengthening collective security, enhancing deterrence against aggression, and promoting peace and stability across the region. Turkish officials have also clarified that agreement is not directed against specific country and remains open to regional partners. But this symbolism is hard to miss. Saudi Arabia is the Arab world's leading oil producer, Turkey has the NATO's second largest military, and Pakistan is the only nuclear Muslim nation. Together, the three countries represent a powerful strategic grouping at a time of deep regional uncertainty. Now, big question is, what does it mean for India? On this issue, I'm joined by Major General Sudhakarji, Aishwarya Sonowani from the Takshashila Institution, and Professor Swaran Singh, and in the studio, my colleague Verghese joins me. Verghese, as the consensus was, you ask the first question, I'll follow up.
All right. The big question that, in fact, I would like to ask our panelists, especially when it comes to this particular agreement, is that when you're talking about an Islamic NATO, how practical is this particular alliance that has in fact happened? Is it because each one of them have something to offer for each of them in this alliance? One is that Pakistan has got a professional army and a nuclear weapons, known as a Muslim nation with a nuclear weapon that Saudi would in fact want to have that kind of a nuclear umbrella. And at the same time, Turkey is trying to in fact become part of the larger Islamic world, especially after the Kemalist kind of revolution and its thought process being slowly now taken away from Turkey through Erdogan. It looks like they want to interfere, or rather be more part of the Islamic world. So the first question to you, Major General Sudhakarji, is that is this the kind of alliance that we are looking, where each one knows where their strategic loopholes are, but it tends to feed up? But is it something that can hold on in a geopolitical world that is in fact changing both in that region as well and with regards to South Asia?
Good evening, Verghese and Kartikeya. Thank you for inviting me for the show, and my very warm greetings to distinguished and esteemed co-panelists. Quick answer to your question is, it is too premature to say anything or comment on such a kind of a development. This is to be understood in the backdrop of what has happened in West Asia for past 5 months or more than 5 months. Saudi Arabia at one point in time was absolutely dependent on USA for its protection and defense. Unfortunately, none of those assurances or the provisions have actually met the requirement. This is one. Second, Turkey is to be seen from the perspective of dominance of Ummah. Turkey, no matter what it does, where it does, whether it is Bangladesh or Pakistan, basically it is trying to extend the very ideology and philosophy of Ottoman Empire. And he wants to claim and assert that despite the weak status of the economy, Turkey is something which can be relied upon, and it asserts its authority as the leader of the Islamic world. Third point is, all the three components you have mentioned. Saudi Arabia has got wealth, Turkey has got drone technology and expertise, and also the aviation sector. Plus, it has got a rocking defense industry which is making profits comparatively. Second, Pakistan, like you rightly said, is a nuclear power, largest armed forces. Plus, also we need to see that Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey, all three are Sunni Muslim countries, and they are connected with each other by some kind of a bilateral bilateral agreement, particularly Pakistan and Saudi Arabia. And also, we need to see that in the current situation, the regional security architecture for self-defense is actually a necessity. So it has been driven by necessity. But at the end of it, How it is going to pan out is a matter of time. I would like to take your mind back to First and Second World War. Similar situation was actually evolving. There was a polycentricity being witnessed all over, unpredictable phenomena as far as the geopolitics was concerned. What I mean is that today's ally was turning out to be a hostile or an enemy tomorrow. Take the example of Germany and USSR. What happened? One agreement, you know,
Okay.
no war pact. Subsequently, within a couple of days, it turned out to be one country was fighting against the other. So similar things. So it's very difficult to actually speculate prematurely.
Okay.
I would say let time pass by. There are serious implications with regard to India. I'll wait for my second round, please.
Absolutely, sir. There are serious implications. Absolutely. Let me introduce Aishwarya Sonowani from the Takshashila Institution. Aishwarya, a pointed question. Can this go down the way Baghdad Pact went down?
Um, I mean, there are a lot of fault lines, firstly, between Saudi Arabia and Turkey, and we have seen in West Asia historically how these two countries have had, and they've seen ties go really down in 2018 when the Jamal Khashoggi incident happened. So I think the big sticking point would be, like Major General said, that we wait and see, and the bilateral relationships between these countries will also play a role. But I want to come back and comment something on the Islamic NATO introduction. You know, Islamic NATO has a great ring to it, but I would be very careful about using that description. The agreement presents itself as a framework for deeper defense and security cooperation rather than a NATO style alliance with, you know, an institutionalized architecture and legally binding obligations like Article 5. Even within NATO, Article 5 does not mean that every member automatically responds with military force in exactly the same way. So, what makes NATO credible is also the institutionalized machinery behind the commitment, which has integrated planning, command structures, this intelligence sharing, joint exercises. So, I would say the three armies are not interoperable, and just like Major General said, that there are three things that they bring in. Pakistan acts as a rentier state. It often rents its soldiers, its resources. So this is acting out in one way where Pakistan provides that nuclear umbrella. You have
Okay.
Turkey that has an expanding industrial defense
Can
space.
Pakistan really provide a nuclear umbrella? You know, I as a journalist, would beg to differ in the sense, do they really have the power to, you know, exercise that umbrella? Even Americans fail to do that in terms of their strategic weapons for Ukraine. Let me just join Professor Swaran Singh. So my question is from a cultural point of view. So I know I'm asking this question from a different turf because I've taken a leaf out of what General Sudhakarji said and just prompted me. It just reminded me of a couple of things I read. So Turkey was the custodian of the two holiest shrines of Islam. Then the Saudi Arabia became the custodian of the two holiest shrines of Islam. After 1979, post Islamic Revolution of Iran, there was a jostling between Iran and Saudi Arabia to be the leaders of Islam. Turkey, as a successor of the Ottoman Empire, was the leading light of Islam. And in fact, the disintegration of the Ottoman Empire led to Khilafat movement in India. Correct, sir? So, and lastly, if you look at the writings on Pakistan, it was imagined as the new Medina, the Ummah for the new world. So we have 4 countries all aspiring to be the leaders of Islam, or the leading lights, the new Ummah, new Medina, the new Mecca of Islam, and 3 are in alliance against the other. So do we need to see West Asia from that rift of Shia Sunni? One, sir. And second, what does this alliance mean for India? That's where I want to locate my conversation. What it means for America is a different thing. But what does it mean for us? That's where I want you to start from, sir.
Thank you, Karthikeya. Let me take the second one first. The way Pakistan is expanding its outreach in the region lately does reflect on India, which was often seen priding itself in terms of having very close working relationship across entire Middle East, the entire Gulf as well, from Iran to Saudi Arabia to Israel to UAE and everyone else. So yes, it does reflect on India's outreach and footprint in the region. And also, yes, there will be temptation, particularly because it is signed in Mecca, signed by three largest powerful Muslim nations, actually Sunni Muslim nations. There is a temptation definitely to then look at it in terms of Islamic NATO or Muslim NATO or some such term of that nature. But to me, it's far deeper, and I like the way you indicated the Baghdad Pact. It may not go down the history like Baghdad Pact went, but it definitely, to me, appears to be conceived in that fashion, like Baghdad Pact after Second World War, when United States and its European allies were trying to set up NATO, CETO, WTO, etc., Central Treaty Organization, and so on. Why I'm saying so is that this is a part of a larger trend that we notice happening. You have seen Gulf Cooperation Council countries also repeatedly coming up with certain visions and initiatives which actually have not fully fructified. Or last month only the 14 nations that Saudi Arabia put together for maritime security, or Saudi Arabia signing a defense cooperation with Ukraine, with Pakistan, now with Turkey, Pakistan signing defense cooperation agreement with Kuwait, then with Saudi Arabia. I understand they're in discussion with Qatar as well. So fundamentally, the recent, I can go back to a decade almost, when the fracking technology became possible and United States became exporter of crude oil, lost its interest in the Gulf region. But fundamentally, they have seen that not only the external guarantees or United States security guarantees to the Gulf nations can actually deliver security to them, but even worse, that their security guarantees to Israel also have their limitations, which is now upfront contestation between Netanyahu and Trump has made really worse. So it's a deeper lesson where I think it's part of the global trend where middle powers increasingly are looking at how to reduce their dependence in case of Gulf, for example, on Beijing or Moscow or Washington, D.C., and create their own indigenously driven regional security architecture, which is where their complementarities become significant. And I do want to underline the fact that it's not necessary that they will actually invoke Article 5 of NATO kind of attack on one, attack on all. We have seen recently India-Pakistan war did not see Saudi Arabia getting into it, or how the attacking Saudi Arabia, Pakistan has not got into it. But I think it's interesting the way rhetoric is built. And you would remember Minister Ishaq Dar's statement last year saying that the 2025 defense pact with Saudi Arabia underlines the fact that Pakistani nuclear weapons will be made available, quote unquote, to Saudi Arabia if the need be.